Hi guys, and welcome back to part 2. In this part you're going to see me do some very detailed work in how I got the center chest piece and the Aquila and whatnot done. Unfortunately I did record it, but unfortunately the camera would not stay focused. Again, this is a new type of painting system for me. I saw this being done on Twitch, and I thought to myself, hey, you guys on YouTube could seriously benefit from this style of painting. You got to understand the camera is literally inches from my nose, and if I wear my normal baseball caps, sorry about that. If I wear my normal baseball caps, it hits the camera stand, and so that's why during the last video the camera was quite shaky a lot. That was because of my headset that I was listening to my music with. The top rim that sits on the top of your skull kept slipping down and hitting the microphone and whatnot. Also at the same time, the reason why there wasn't really that much audio from me during the painting process is because my compressor, the pressure relief valve in the compressor was going bad. So without that, let's get back to what I'm doing here. As you can see, at this point I am painting the purity seals. I've already gone ahead and put a base tone dark flesh wash. Well, it's not a dark flesh wash, it's a black ink wash that I've done. It's a custom wash that I made out of some old Reaper Pro Series mini paints. I went ahead and did a little secret blend of 70% water, 30% rubbing alcohol, and used that as the base. Yes, rubbing alcohol, 91%, preferably 99% if you've got it, but 91% is considered a dryer, which means the moment you put the ink down, you've probably got 3 to 5 seconds to get it around before it dries. And now I'm just looking at dirtying up the purity seals, because you know, they're only made of paper here, and so I'm going ahead and I'm using a flesh wash from Games Workshop. And it is watered down, so that's why it's not so strong and why I'm easily able to move it around. And so I got one purity seal and I got the other, and unfortunately at this point I actually thought to myself I still had my fine tip Sharpie somewhere. So I'm actually looking around for it as I'm painting it, going, where the hell did I put my fine tip Sharpie? Just so I can do some more scroll work, and maybe even do some hand scroll work on his loincloth. But unfortunately I couldn't find it in time. It turns out it was actually in my bedroom. I remember filling out a application form for something, and I left the pen in my office. Now here I'm using some light mocha as a highlight level for the loincloth. No, I used it for the purity seals, if I remember correctly. I wasn't happy with how the purity seals work. Now again, here I know the miniature's off screen, and I do apologize for that, guys. Like I said, the moment I realized that, I moved the miniature back on screen, as you can see, and then ta-da, here we go. I'm doing some just simple edge highlighting with it. Yes, it is a apple barrel paint you can get from your local Walmart or your local arts craft store like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, stuff like that. I get mine from my local Walmart. They're like maybe $1 and change per bottle. Now again, like I said, I used the I'm using the mocha as a highlight. It is watered down, so I can push the paint around a little bit, and there we go. I've got my edge highlight going on, and then you could go with an ultra highlight of maybe some Linden White or some GW White Lightning. And again, I bumped the camera there. I do apologize, guys. Like I said, this is completely new for me, so you got to understand I'm doing this with a pinch of salt here, because literally everything is all new to me. This paint style, this technique style, sorry, not painting of course. The colors I used was a custom color mix from when I got into the Dawn of War 3 beta. I live streamed it on Twitch, and my viewers wanted me to start painting some miniatures in the colors that we chose excuse me, called the Cult of Cobra. And so that he's literally the very first miniature. Don't worry guys, I will have some photographs some high res 20 megapixel pictures of him, so that you guys can see it. Now here's some bleach bone. I believe I used bleach bone on the loincloth here at this point. Again, I just wasn't happy with how the loincloth was turning out. I'm trying a new lighting technique as well, so I can see the miniature properly. Unfortunately, the lighting was to my right, and I am left-handed, which means my right hand has to go out and hold the miniature. I've now since moved the lighting since then, so it's now almost directly above the camera, which means it doesn't matter if I hold the miniature in the left hand or the right hand, the camera will still pick it up. Now I do have the miniature angled at about a 30-degree rake right here, and I am using a plasticine or modeling clay to hold him to the base. I'm not using blue tack. Lately, blue tack, I'm not sure if there's like a bad batch of blue tack or whatnot, but the last miniature I used blue tack on, it left this really horrible residue on it. And I mean, I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, you know, as gently as I could without removing the paint. And it just wasn't coming off. It just kept giving me really bad orange peel. And so I decided, screw it. You know what? I'm just going to go whole hog and just use tried and true method, which is plasticine. So it's called in England. I got it at my local Family Dollar. Again, Family Dollar is like a modeler's wet dream here. So now we've got the foundation on the loincloth set. We've got the Aquila on the chest done. The Aquila was done with a mix of mithril silver as the base, with again my black wash, my custom black wash on the Aquila. Let the wash dry, and then I hit it immediately with a Folk Arts Royal Gold. That's paint code number 2480 if you're wondering, guys, and it is an acrylic metallic. Here we're working on the power sword now. I was going to try a simple hand painted technique, and this is what you're going to see me do. I'm in the middle of starting the hand painting technique, and halfway through the technique I just wasn't happy with it, so I went back to a tried and true technique, and I'll let the video explain more. I know I haven't put a lot of video content out on my channel, and I do apologize for that, guys. I've just been so busy with my Twitch channel and getting that set up and whatnot. I am live streaming more model painting. I'm actually getting ready to start doing some of the wife's orcs from Assault on Black Reach. We've got the war boss done, and we're working on his knob bodyguards right this minute during the paint live streams. I do that on the weekends, so that's Saturday and Sunday. So if that's your cup of tea, and it is a weekend, so I'm pretty sure, you know, if you're not in church or whatnot, and you want to see some really fun, happy accents, as I like to call it, hit me up on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/DeceptiveCobras. Link will be in the video description. Now, here is the arm holding the. It is technically a two-handed power sword, but as you can see, the handle is broken. I will get to that. I do fix the handle in this video, and I end up painting it as well. Here I'm in the process of mixing or getting a linden white ready for airbrushing. You can airbrush regular folk art acrylics. It just takes a little bit of work to get the paint to move, and set your PSI to around about 19 to 21 PSI. Don't go any higher than that, or the paint will dry literally directly on the tip. Again, it also depends on your mixing method. If you use water, that PSI, it dries damn near instantly. Again, I use a thinner, a custom-made thinner of 70% distilled water, 30%, 91% rubbing alcohol. You could go with a stronger rubbing alcohol. All that does is it increases the dry time. If you go with a weaker alcohol, I've seen some alcohols at 70%, that extends the dry time, so you will have a little somewhat ability to wet blend if you're quick enough at cleaning out your airbrush, or if you have a secondary airbrush standing by. Now, at this point, 9 minutes and 30 or some change, again, I'm really having a hard time trying to find my paint that's literally like 3 feet from my face. What is it about painting miniatures when you think, okay, I've got everything set, I've got all the colors I need, got all the brushes I need, got everything, yes, let's do this, and you go look for a specific color that you didn't think you'd need, and you absolutely need it, and then all of a sudden you can't find it, and you are searching absolutely everywhere for this color and you cannot find it, and then you realize, bugger, I'm recording. Oh, it's okay, it's just dead air, I'll just cut it out or something. No, it's not dead air, not dead air at all. So no, you can't cut it out. I'm gonna leave it in the video. It will push the video past the 50. I think it pushes the video up to like an hour and 40. So this is a really long video for you guys. I know I haven't done a lot of videos, and I do apologize for that, guys. I really do. But there's really not much I could do about that. I'm only a one-man band, and so I believe I found the paint now, and I'm just giving it a shake and a double check and making sure that the paint's okay. Sorry about that, just had to get a swig of coffee. And so yeah, I believe I am actually in the process of testing the paint. And again, I bumped the camera. I do apologize about that, guys. Again, I've got them when I'm airbrushing. I've got my headset, my earphones on, and I'm not even paying attention. You know what I mean, guys? I'm too busy jamming out to my music and whatnot. Yeah, this is me moving my keyboard. Hi guys, we're back. Sorry about that. And so, yeah, Dan, get the miniature in there. And now I'm just doing some edge highlighting with some bleach bone on the loincloth. Here I'm going to try and wet blend in to create a contoured highlight within the loincloth. And here you get to see a lot more detail in the miniature. If need be, pause the video, guys. Put the video in into 1080, because that's what I'm going to be rendering the video in. I'm going to be rendering the video in 1080, so you guys can just pause the video and just really zoom in. And so here I am doing the edge highlighting, and I'm jamming out to a song. That's why the camera is shaking a little bit. I do apologize about that, guys, but I generally just am having a blast doing this painting tutorial. And I've realized I really was having fun painting this miniature, painting this whole tutorial. And if you guys really did like the video, please say so in the comment section and give the video a like. You know, please let me know that this is the sort of content that you'd like to watch, because if it is, I will do more videos on this. I will scour eBay and try and find me a couple of Dark Eldar, a couple of Eldar miniatures. I've really, lately, for some reason, I've been wanting to paint Eldar, Ulthwi, the yellow and blues, because yellow and blue, trying to get those two colors to work is like freaking night and day. They're either it works, either it will work or it won't. Now we went with a Hermagant purple, is what it's called. And I actually spoke to a friend of mine who works automotive body shop that does color matching, and he helped color match my purple to GW's Hermagant purple. And he told me the color code and the mix ratio I needed, and so that's how I managed to mix up the purple to get it to airbrush. It's not GW at all. It's not, believe it or not. It's a purple folk art. Let me get the actual base purple I used. It is a folk art acrylic. Lavender 2585, 3 drops black, 1 part white, and that's literally how I got that purple to work. And the highlighter tone, you'll see me mixing it near the end of the video where I did the edge highlighting. I'm going to be working on doing wet blending. I really do need to work on my wet blending skills. This is why I bought this miniature. Yes, this was a miniature that technically I did own one very similar to it ages ago. When I was doing Blood Angels, I sold it to a friend, and then he repainted the miniature and whatnot. And so this miniature I stripped because I got it in a lot with a whole bunch of other miniatures. I pointed that out in the first video. I got this miniature with a whole bunch of other miniatures, and so I stripped the miniature and brought it back, and now you see me doing a little bit of extra edge highlighting on the purity seals. And yeah, I realized that the Aquila, the chest piece, the chest armor, and the center was one of the things I needed to look at most. And there is the now we're going to see me wait for the wet blending to dry. And so now I'm going to be grabbing some. Here's the sword arm. The silver has dried, and I'm just not happy with it. I knew deep down that I just wasn't happy with it. And again, I banged the camera with my damn hat. Sorry about that, guys. And I was gonna strip the sword and reprime it. And then I literally had a massive rush of shit to the brain. I'm like, no, wait. That's not what I want to do. And so here I am. Here's my white. Yes, the sword has been hit with a silver. I believe it is Reaper Mini Pro Series steel. That paint is no longer available, which is a shame because it's a really nice dark gunmetal steel. I know everyone's switched out to Vallejo now, and here I am. I'm about to hit it with some white linen white, and so here I am just highlighting on the main of the sword, and I'm airbrushing here. Again, it's a folk art paint. I just did a custom mix on it. I'm not worried about the overspray on the hand. You'll see why I'm not worried about the overspray on the hand. There you see me working from tip to base, and on the other side I'm working from base to tip. Again, I'm pre-setting up the color coordination for the inking and various other processes that I do to get my power swords to look the way they do. I do like By Painted and a few other guys on YouTube. I do like how they did their power swords. It's just ever since he did that tutorial, everyone is doing power swords the exact same way, and your miniatures no longer stand out at tournaments or at competitions and whatnot, because everyone is painting power swords the exact same way, where you take a masking tape and you mask off one whole side of the sword, one blade edge of the sword, and then do the same to the other. Now I'm going to let this dry. It is damn near dry already, but I'm just going to let it dry instead of being a little skin, because if it's a skin and you hit it with a brush, there's a high chance that the brush is going to break the skin, and the paint underneath is going to leak, and you're going to get a mixed blend that you don't want, and then you're going to get the skin crumpling up on it, and it just looks horrible. It absolutely just looks horrible. So here we go, and here we go again. I've cleaned out my brush, my airbrush. Here I am. I'm just cleaning it out again, guys. Rule of thumb: if it's a tool, take care of it. I hate to say this, but it is. If it's a tool, take care of it. You know, whether it be your husband, your boyfriend, your wife, your daughter, you know, no matter what it is. Okay, if it's an airbrush, if it's a paintbrush, take care of it. Just clean it out once you're done. I know it's an annoying step, but in all honesty, how many times have you airbrushed a light color, then immediately gone to a dark color like a black or a gray, and tried to airbrush it and realized, oh bugger, I've got a lighter color in there, and it's just, and then the miniature's ruined. You got to strip it and then go back to. So like I said, don't run that risk. Do yourself the favor, do the right thing, and just clean the airbrush. Now here I am working on the base, while I'm waiting on the airbrush paint to dry, while I'm waiting on the Aquila to dry. I grab the miniature and see where I want to put him base wise. Because I can't really pose the miniature how I would like, I figured, you know what, let's make him stand out. Let's give him a custom base. Let's make him stand out just from the base. And I didn't have any cork sheeting, because if I had some cork sheeting, I was going to do him standing up looking like on a cliff edge, like a typical Lion King pose, you know, the whole Mufasa Lion King pose. But I didn't have anything like that. So here I am. I've got the base. I'm hitting it with a wash. And unfortunately, again, I thought I was in frame, and apparently I'm not, so I do apologize about that. So there it is. I just hit it with a simple black ink wash, and because I wanted to bring out the detail in the recess. As you can see, there's two deep gouge recesses on the base, and I figured that would be two great areas for pooled blood, or a fluid of some kind, alien blood, you name it. And in here, I just noticed that the tip of the power pack, the backpack, I missed the last little vents at the end, and I'm like, oh bugger, let's hit those vents up. And so I've immediately gone straight back to the airbrush, and I've immediately filled the airbrush. As you can see, that's the cap to one of my spray bottles. And there I am with my, there I am filling up the air, see. And best thing about the paints I use, the way I've got them painted is I can also use them as brush paints. As you can see, nice coverage. You know, trust me guys, you can do it. You don't necessarily need to spend, you know, $8, $9, $10 a bottle for typical meh quality. I hate to say that, but there are some paint companies out there that generally just don't care about the quality of their paints. They just care about knocking out. Now here you go. There's a prime example of how easy the coverage is on the brush when you want to turn the paint into a brush paint. Now here I am not worried about the overspray, because I immediately went right back to the base color, and immediately just bam, there you go. Overspray's fixed. There's a little overspray on the back of his hand. Unfortunately, I'm still learning this style. The next video I do, you're going to see a lot more of the miniature, and it's going to be a lot easier and whatnot for me. Again, I'm cutting my teeth doing this. And so there you go. You see me immediately, bam, and it covers up the overspray dang near instantly. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful paint. Again, it's a folk art paint. You believe it or not, it's just a buck and change per bottle, and yeah, it's that easy, guys. You can do it. Again, so here we go. I did a little bit of whoopsie doing the black edge highlighting on the shoulder pad, and so here I am just covering it up. Again, look how easy it flows. Look at the flow rate. Look. It absolutely blows my mind that it's that easy to get that sort of flow rate, that sort of coverage from a paint that I've custom mixed. It really is that easy. And I apologize for the background audio. I really do. I do apologize for that, guys. I apologize. Nothing I can do about that. But yeah, and there you go. Look how quick it wiped. Look how easy it wiped. Okay, it literally was that easy, just a whoosh, done. And now here I am just visually inspecting the miniatures and the areas that I painted and whatnot to make sure that I don't have any areas that I have to clean up, which I didn't. So now I'm just putting the miniatures on little stands to dry. Yes, I did blow apart the miniature. Now I've gone back to the sword now. As you can see, the hand is still wet, and I'm not worried about the hand. Here we are. We're using a P3 blue ink from P3 Paints, which is a I believe they have a facility here in Utah, which is why I don't mind buying P3 Paints. Now here I am. I'm just going to take the ink and I'm going to go from hilt all on the blade all the way up, whoosh, right there, right to the tip, and then right back down again. I'm just going to keep pushing that ink around. If I see it pooling up, I'm going to wick it away because I don't want it to pool up. During my last live stream, I accidentally forgot about the whole pooling aspect, and it pulled up on the tip of my Dark Angels captain's on his power sword, and it just looks so horrible. And so there we go, bam. And I'm even letting gravity help me here by turning the miniature around, and you can see it pooling right there on the edge of the sword. And this is how I used to do my power swords way back in the day when I worked for Games Workshop, and they thought I was some sort of maniac, some sort of magician, doing this. And again, all I'm doing right now is just dealing with the edges. Again, I apologize that I couldn't get the sword in the frame, but like I said, I was cutting my teeth on this point. This is why certain parts of the miniature here, this I left out of the first clip, because I'm pretty sure you guys just don't want to see a desk. And so again, I'm cutting my teeth doing this process, but I wanted to show you the fact that I may not have put a video up on YouTube for quite some time, but I'm still around. You know what I mean, guys? I'm still painting. There we go. I just pulled away from the tip right there, and I realized the other side of the sword. Jesus Christ! Look at all that ink pulled up. And so I washed the brush real quick, and there I am. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking the bristles of the brush, and I'm using like a sponge, and I'm just soaking up the excess ink. As you can see right there, that brush is literally soaked with ink. There was a lot of ink on that brush, and I really didn't think that I had that much ink. As you can see there, I've even got some water now on my mixing palette, which is just a simple garage sale sign that you can buy at any Family Dollar, any dollar store, Poundland, you name it, you can buy them. Reason why is they've got a wax covering. Now, as you can see, I've gone ahead and I'm washing the brush every time I'm dipping it on the sword, because I just want to get rid of this ink, and I'm clearing out the bristles by dipping it straight into the wort to make sure that I've got a nice clean aspect. And then boom, right on that edge, you can see it pulling right there, and on the opposite side, boom, it pulls, because when you flip a miniature around, gravity is going to pull the paint on the opposite side, and I want to slurp that up, say boom, like that. So I want to leave some of the base white there. I'm just using the ink as a stain, as you can see, like a stained glass. And then ta-da, it's looking beautiful. I was liking it, and like I said, and then flip it over, and then rinse and repeat. That's all I'm doing, is I'm just pulling the ink on and then just pulling it off. That's all I'm doing, guys. And taking the brush right to my water. There I thought I'd pulled too much, but I didn't. And so there, the base has still got the dark blue, because that's where the power sword's core is in the base of the sword. And so there, I'm thinking I'm done. So I'm going to wipe off the water, wipe off the ink. And by now, I think the base was somewhat dry to where I was happy with it. And there's the power sword. Again, guys, that's how I do the bases for my power swords, and then from there you'll see more about the power sword here later on in the video. So I'm just a little again, I'm a bit of I am a bit of a perfectionist, guys. I saw some pulling and I was like, nope, not on my watch. And so I just grabbed it real quick with the brush. Again, you could leave it, you could not, it's your call. But it's a simple technique, and it works. It's effective, it's beautiful. Most people, when they see that effect on the battlefield, they're like, holy cow, how did you do that? And now you know how to do it. P3 Royal Blue. Yeah, the base is dry now, but it wasn't dry enough to my liking, and so I just pushed the base to one side and grabbed another part of the model. And for me, that's the backpack. Again, I'm just going over the miniature here, making sure that the miniature's done to my liking. Now I know that the wet blending is done on the Aquila. I'm just going over the model again, just going over it, and again, now I'm looking at assembly. How am I going to put the model back together again? Am I going to adjust the model? Am I going to change the model? Do I want the model in the pose that it's in? Again, I'm thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead here, because you've got to. And now this if you want to pause the video here and go ahead, but here is the shield bolt pistol arm. I did some footage of that, and again, the camera was having a hard time focusing on what I was doing, so I just left it out. But if you guys are interested in something like that, maybe I can hit do it again for you guys. But there we are. That's where we're at right now, guys. That's where we're at. There's the Aquila. There's the wet blending done on the tabard. There's the purity seals. Now again, because I couldn't find my fine tip Sharpie, I couldn't add the scroll text and whatnot. Now I'm also debating about leaving the eyes or not, and later on I decided to paint the eyes, because one of my viewers during my live stream said, hey, can you paint his eyes red and give him a really menacing look? And so I was going with this glowing eyes effect. The base is somewhat dry. It's dry enough that I can do what I was going to do, which is start to dry brush, and that's exactly what I did. I quite literally just grabbed some paints. I think I grabbed a burnt umber, and yeah, I believe it's burnt umber. Is it burnt? Oh yeah, it's burnt umber from Deco Art. Again, the majority of the paints that you see me use, guys, are just simple paints that you can buy from any craft store or a Poundland. Heck, even some of the brushes I use, I bought from Family Dollar. To prove to you guys that there you go, I'm just overloading the brush and whatnot, grabbing some tissue and drying off the brush on the tissue. Typical dry brush technique. Everyone knows how to dry brush. If you don't, basically you overload the brush and then just drag it across the tissue or whatever you've got. So you've got basically very little paint left on the bristles, and then you just very rapidly from one direction, only go one direction, guys. That's the best tip I can give you, is only go one direction, left to right, left to right, left to right. Don't do what I did right there where I go all over the place. Again, I'm just doing this because at the same time I was recording this, I was also doing part of my live stream, and so the reason why I muted the audio is because there was music playing and people were donating and whatnot, and so this is raw grabbed footage, and so I had to mute the audio because that's why, in all honesty, I wanted to do this audio over track for you guys, so you can understand the level of dedication I have. Now here's some Yellow June. Again, I used it as a highlight because I'm not sure if I wanted to do this guy on like a desert world, or if I wanted to do him on a jungle world or whatnot. So I decided to blend in the Yellow June, as you can see here, with some of the burnt umber, and it came out beautiful. It was like there was a clay tinge to the mud that he was standing in, and you'll see it coming up right here. Beautiful right there. It was like a clay tinge, and I should have stopped there. I'm telling you right now, I should have stopped there because I was happy with it, but there was that nagging voice in the back of my head that said, no, we can take this one step further. And sometimes, again, I bash the camera again with my freaking hat, and again, double thumbs there. I was like, yes, I'm happy with it, we're done, let's move on. And turns out I should have just left it there, but I didn't. Typical Cobra. No, typical Malivictus. I just didn't. I just wanted to keep going. Just wanted to keep going. Just wanted to keep going. And there was something bugging about me. I was like, I really want those recesses to be a little bit darker. So let's grab some more. And it just, now the ink's dry on the sword. And I thought to myself, yes, but you can see some of the brush strokes. So I'm not happy about that. So the first thing I did was I grabbed my airbrush. Again, there was some steel. Now again, that's from Reaper Pro Paint series. That steel is no longer available. There's mithril silver. I'm going to do a typical metal laydown, and this is to go on the hilt of the sword, which is where the Aquila and Eagle is. And everybody knows metallics like to stick to metallics. They don't like to stick to non-metallics. And I was going to go with the dark steel as the base, and I realized, no, that dark steel is a very thick paint, and it is a very thick paint. And so here I go, I'm putting the base down for the mithril silver. The reason why I didn't go with the bolt gun, again, I hit the freaking camera with my damn hat, I apologize for that, guys. The reason why I didn't go with a bolt gun metal is, one, I don't have any, and two, the bolt gun metal I did have clumped up real bad, and no matter how I tried to thin it, even with Tamiya thinners, it just wasn't gonna work for me. I mean, literally, I could see the pigments clumping up on the brush, and I knew for a fact the moment I touched a miniature with that paint, it was gonna get right. It was gonna, like compacted mud. It was just gonna get stuck in the details, and it just wasn't gonna look right. So I grabbed my mithril silver, and I think, you know what? I'll do the old school trick where you take mithril silver and then hit it with a black ink wash. And that immediately turns mithril silver into a bolt gun metal anyway. Little tip there for you. Bolt gun metal is just mithril silver with a black ink wash. I'm pretty sure you guys know that. Again, I bashed the freaking camera with my hat, and it got to the point where my hat was really starting to piss me off because like I said, I really wasn't trying to hit the camera. And so I got really mad at my hat, and here you're probably going to see a cutaway where my hat's gone. I've taken it off because it just kept hitting the freaking camera, and I was just not happy. I was just not having it. I was not happy, whatever you want to call it. It was just really pissing me off. So now I'm going to let the mithril silver dry a little bit. But I'm also looking at the areas where my mithril silver didn't give me the coverage I wanted, and so I swapped that to a different pot of mithril silver, and this one seemed to give me much better flow, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then here's the ink technique I was telling you about. Boom, instantly turn mithril silver or shining silver, depending on whatever, because I know Games Workshop changed the name of the paint from mithril silver to something else. Basically all it is to turn mithril silver, shining silver, whatever the hell they've called it now, into bulk gunmetal, is just to hit it with a black wash. That's it. Not GW's black wash, just Reaper Pro Paint Series black wash. That wash is still available, and it's actually cheaper than GW's washes. There's some water because I really wanted to push the wash around a little bit, and so this is me with a thinner wash hitting the hand up now to get the details back into the hand, back into the wrist and the elbow from where the overspray hit, and then here's me hitting the fingers, the thumb, and the other side of the arm to get the detail back. It's that easy, guys. If you overspray, don't panic. I know a lot of guys that, you know, they go, oh fuck it, you know, they literally do a you know, they literally do a Bill O'Reilly, and it's like, fuck it, we'll do it live, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, guys, just don't worry, you know, shit happens, you know, seriously, just shit happens, just don't let it get to you. Excuse me. You know, and as you can see here, the base is now dry, and then that's when that nagging thing in my head says, you know what, add another highlight, add another highlight, add another highlight. When that voice gets into your bloody head, ignore it. Trust me, ignore it. There I couldn't decide on if I wanted to do the lines vertical or perpendicular to his feet. I was thinking more perpendicular. That way it looks like he's walking down a muddy, used battle road where you've got rhinos and razorbacks and land raiders and whatnot just driving down this road, and he's on foot. Now here's my gloss. To do this gloss, it's really not hard to make your own glosses, guys. You just need dish soap, ink, or you can that's one way you can do it, is dish soap and ink. This way, my glaze that I did here is a clear gloss varnish with some red ink. It's that easy, and it's even red ink from a Sharpie. I'm serious, guys. I broke open a red Sharpie, grabbed the felt that has all the ink in it, and all I did was just literally grab one side of the ink and just milked it like a cow until I could get some red ink into a cup. Put the ink into the cup, hit it with a gloss varnish, mixed it, ta-da, you're done. That's how easy it is to do a blood glaze. It's that easy, guys. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm happy where that's at. Again, it's a little tip you can do there for you instead of buying GW's glazes. Again, I'm going over the miniature scene, realizing, okay, I've got to put a little bit more shade in the face, because I just wasn't happy with how the face turns out. I'm a perfectionist, guys. Don't be a perfectionist, especially if you're getting back into the hobby. Just paint the miniature and be happy. You know, get a minimum of 3 colors on it. That way you can take it to tournaments, your local hobby shop, and players aren't going to bitch. We all know those sort of players. There's players out there that complain, oh, there's no 3-color minimum. Yeah, fuck those players, okay? Fuck them in the arse with a fucking glass dildo and snap that fucker off, okay? Trust me, I hate those sort of people, because I seriously just want to punch them in the face. Now here I am, just double looking at the sword now, and the glaze is starting, the wash is starting to dry now. on both the sword hilt and on the wrist and the hands. It's already dried on the fingers. Here I am, I grab my airbrush and I'm getting ready for the next stage of doing the power sword. And that stage is the white highlight in the center. If you've ever played any of the Dawn of War series, you'll realize that power swords always have like this white core in the center. And so that's what I'm doing here, guys. I'm busting out my linen white, again my airbrushing linen white, the white that I use for the base of the sword. So there's no magic trick to this. It's not a secret other white. It's not. It's the base white that I use for doing the blade. And all you got to do is set your PSI level to a little bit lower than that, so that you can focus your center of your dot. And here I am, just going from left to right. In this case, up and down. Again, only going one direction, guys. One direction, just like the boy band. Just going one direction, as you can see. Up to down, or in this case down to up. But you'll get the point of what I'm doing right here. You're going to start to see it. Boom. You know, you're making the core of the sword look brighter. You're making the sword itself look like it's about to just go absolutely insane. Again, less is more. I should have stopped here and been happy, but typical me, again, right there, perfect. I should have stopped right there. And even people in my Twitch chat was telling me you should have stopped right there. But I kept going. I decided to keep going. And because I just wasn't happy how one side of the sword was pulling up. But again, don't worry about overspray, because the hilt of the sword was going to get hit with a gold anyway. And so I really wasn't that worried. And so now I'm getting ready to clean out my brush. Again, guys, always take care of your stuff, and your stuff will take care of you. And now, oh, actually, apparently I'm not cleaning out. Oh, no. Yeah, this is where I just wasn't happy with how the edge on the tip of the sword was going, and so I just wanted to hit it up a little bit more. From that point on, I was actually quite happy with that. And so here I am, just finally getting rid of that little nagging section there. And yeah, it was nagging the hell out of me. It was bugging me. And yes, guys, I do understand that I have that this video is going to go long. This video is going to be like an hour and 40 minutes. It's basically going to be a documentary. You know, if you want, yeah, if you really want to have a snore fest, you know, because like I said, I recorded over at least 6 to 9 hours worth of footage. But sadly, I couldn't use the majority of it because I was having focus issues, or I just wasn't getting the miniature in shot. Again, it's all teething problems, guys, so just bear with me. Now I bust out my glaze. I'm cleaning up my airbrush right now, and I realize, you know what, I'll hit the sword with a gloss varnish. That will give the sword the sheen that the matte varnish just won't. So I bust out my Reaper Pro Paint gloss varnish. If you're looking for the model for the paint number, it is stock number 88074, the gloss varnish. I don't believe you can get it anymore, but if you can, that's the point. That's the pot number, and I use it on the sword from hilt all the way up to tip in one go, in one stroke. And you're going to see me do that here in a few minutes. So like I said, here I am. I'm just cleaning out my airbrush. Now that the airbrush is cleaned out and whatnot, I put it away, grab the sword, and then I hit it with the gloss varnish. If I don't hit it here, I believe I hit it just near the end of the video, but that's how I do it, because I don't think I got footage of it. So I think this is either the only footage of me hitting it up, or I just didn't get around to doing it. Again, I'm just doing a little quick simple visual inspection of the sword to make sure it's to a standard that I'm happy with. This miniature is to the point where I would, yeah, this is me grabbing the gloss. Yeah, like I said, the gloss, the problem with the gloss is it does, and yes, there is a marble inside my gloss. Don't question me, monkeys. You do you and I do me. And so yeah, this is me finally moving the camera and getting it into a better position. And like I said, I just go from hilt all the way one stroke straight to the tip. That's it. And then I flip the sword over and repeat. Doop, 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 doop. That's it. I think that's the only footage of me glossing the sword that you actually get to see. But there you go. Even with that gloss right as it is, it's made that sword even brighter, which makes it, I mean, it's a power sword. It's supposed to stand out. It's on a champion. He's supposed to stand out. And so I'm going to let that dry now. I've already let the wash do the highlights for me, the darkened highlights, as you can see on that shoulder pad. But I still wanted to get some more highlights done on it, and I'll save that to the highlighting stage. And so yeah, what can I say? It's power sword. That's how I do my power swords. Here I am with the royal gold, part number 2480, and this is where I do the hilt. I just grab one of my brushes and I just start hitting the hilt. Now there are certain areas on the hilt I'm going to leave silver. The reason why I do that is to make it look like it's an old sword, that it's seen some wear and tear, and you know, it's, you know, some other weapons, some other worldly weapons have hit the hilt in an attempt to knock it out, the sword out of the champion's hand, and vice versa and whatnot. It's basically a poor man's weathering technique. You know, here you see me go through and just push the paint. I'm not trying to do anything other than move the paint to where I feel I want it. And see, there you go. Metallics love to cover metallics. It's that simple, guys. If you have a metallic that you're not happy with, cover it with another metallic. You can't cover it with another color, with anything other than another metallic. And there you go. There's the sword hilt done. That's basically how I do my power swords. And then I'll go over that gold once it's dry with a really strong black wash to bring out the feathers in the bird's wings on the Aquila, the double-headed eagle. And yeah, it's not that hard, guys. You can do it. You've just got to think a couple of steps ahead. Now, yes, I could have saved myself a whole headache by just masking. And there you go. That's the glaze. Do you see the effect we were going for? And yes, to prove that the glaze is dry. Boom. There you go. Just to prove that it was dry. So we've got our pooled blood effect. I was actually even debating about putting like a severed Chaos Space Marine head in between his legs. And then I thought to myself, no, that's an extra paint and step I just really don't want to cover right now, because at this point I'd already done close to there you go, maximum bond crazy glue. At this point in time I'd already done 6.5-7 hours worth of recorded footage, and of course here I am using crazy glue to put him on the base. And I think at this point I'm like, yeah, I'll put him on the base and we're done. For the body wise, we're done. So there we go. I'm just holding it there for a couple of seconds, letting the crazy glue do its thing. And yeah, ta-da! That's it, and it's done. Now normally I don't suggest you actually use super glue of any kind, or soil acrylate as it likes to be called, or crazy glue. I don't suggest we do any of that. Yeah, that's 3:52 AM in the morning, guys. This is in the morning. Okay, I started this model at noon. You know, I've got a lot of hours into this miniature, mostly because I just wanted to get this tutorial done for you guys. And like I said, I just wanted to. Now I'm doing again. I'm doing a visual inspection to make sure I'm a very visual person. I like to visualize everything from details to base to what is this Space Marine thinking, what is this Orc War Boss thinking, what is this Imperial Guardsman thinking, what is this Scout thinking. And now I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's double take on the sword. Now the gold's dry now. So here I am with my black wash, my custom black wash that I made. No guys, I won't make the wash for you. It's a custom wash for me. And right there, boom, that's all I did. Touch one side, drag it across, flip the model over, touch one side, drag it across. Not a stippling effect, just a drag across. That's it. And a little bit, as you can see, there's a little silver hint parts right there to make it look like, you know, weapons have clashed with him. And see, right there. And that's what I was going for. I was going for a worn sword hilt look. And I hope that came across for you guys. It's a simple painting technique. You can try it yourself. And so there we go. Like I said, I'm just pushing the wash around now to areas that I'm happy with. Again, you know, that should, you know, let you see. Now you got instant edge highlighting without having to grab a lighter gold or a silver and do more edge highlighting. Again, it's just Power Swords for Dummies 101. And so there you go. Again, I hope that you enjoyed that part of the Power Sword. Now I'm thinking about how am I going to affix it to the model. Do I want the sword standing up as if he's like cheering, as if he's just killed an enemy champion? Do I want the sword down as if he's been defeated, you know, like morally, spiritually? And I thought to myself, no, wait, let's get the power pack on him first, because that will determine where the sword goes. Again, bust out the crazy glue. Again, I normally don't use crazy glue. I normally use a I normally use a glue from Fuller Expert, but that glue is a air cure glue, which means if you lose the cap to that glue, have a lighter handy to help unclog the glue. Otherwise, you're SOL. And then there, I was just debating on where I wanted the power pack to sit properly, and apparently I didn't put enough super glue on the power pack, and so in a few seconds you're going to see me take the power pack off and put a little bit more crazy glue on. Yeah, see, it just wasn't sitting properly and I wasn't happy with it, so I bust out the glue again one more time, and not so much. Again, you just, less is more, guys. Less is more. I'm a firm believer in that. I really am. I'm a firm believer in less is more. Again, if there's something you want me to do a tutorial on, like how to paint power packs or how to paint helmets or how to paint whatever, you know, guys, just let me know in the comment section down below, and I will actually do a tutorial on how to paint those. Aquillas, you name it. Just let me know what you want to know. Okay, and now we've put the Space Marine on some plasticine. Power packs on, and now wait an extra few seconds for the glue to solidify to hold the power pack in place. Now now this is another debate I was having. Do I want to put the shield arm on, or do I want to put the sword arm on? And I decided to put the shield arm on. The reason being is because I've already got and then I noticed there's a few things wrong with the shield arm that I just wanted to clean up, which was there wasn't enough shade on the interior of the shield. And so here I am, I just go through with my black wash that I've got, my custom black wash I made, and I just go through, you know, and I hit up certain areas that I know is going to be hidden. Again, I'm just double checking certain areas of the shield that to make sure that I'm happy with it. And now I'm debating on, do I want the shield down? Do I want the shield up? Do I want the shield like do I want him to lower his shield as if he's like saluting another fellow Space Marine champion or captain or whatnot? Do I want to cover up all that wet blending that I did on his loincloth with a great big huge shield? Again, there's a whole slew of things that are going through my mind right now, and so I bumped the camera. I didn't mean to. Now this is a really fine tip that I've got, and I believe I use a flesh wash here, and I just carefully highlight the areas that I want. No, it is my black wash. This is where I wanted to stain the ribbons a little bit, and I wasn't happy with it. The ink came out too fat, so I decided let's blend it in and give it a shade like a shade highlight. And so that's what I did. I put some extra water on the brush and turned it into a shading effect, because I realized the majority of these purity seals are going to be covered up with that shield. And so let's add a little bit. Let's add a third dimension to these purity seals real quick. And so I did. Here I am, and there I go washing the brush again. And here I am. I bust out. I believe this is where I get my my fuller glue. I believe it's the fuller glue. Oh no! This was where I was. Yeah. This is where I get the fuller glue out. No. Yeah, this is where I test to see where I wanted to put the sword, and I realized, oh great, there's a great big gap right on the shoulder plate that I got to paint and fill. And again, wasn't worried about it because I knew I had to get the paint, and here we go. You're gonna see me bust out the paint right there. One drop. That's all it is. Simple drop. Covered. It's that quick. It's that easy. It's that good. Just covered. Instantly covered. Freaking brickety bam. That's it. That's how strong the airbrush paint is. Even though it is a mixed airbrush, you can still use it for brush painting. And so there you go. There you go. To prove out how easy it is, I just wiped it with my finger. You know, I have no idea how I can make such good airbrush paints. I really don't. A lot of people have asked me to make a set of airbrush paints for them and stuff like that, and I did that in the past, and I thought to myself, no, just no, Governor, no. It's too much stress and headache and whatnot. Here I am putting the shield back on the base because I wanted to see what it would look like with a shoulder pad, and so I took the shoulder pad off the other base, put it on the shield arm to again figure out where I wanted to put the miniatures, and okay guys, and we are back, and now again I go right back to the miniature to double check my work, make sure there's no whitening from the glue, because super glue leaves this white residue on some of your miniatures, and well, it depends on the brand. Now here I'm moving the camera up a little bit and just adjusting and whatnot to see if I can't keep the miniature in view. Also that the fact that now it's on a pill bottle that I can hold, the miniature was almost hitting the camera and it was causing me focus issues. Again, this was me cutting my teeth on a new style of everything, so please take it with a pinch of salt. And well, I'm going through the steps now in my head. Now the paint is dry on the shoulder flooring, and I'm actually happy with the coverage of it. I grabbed the shield sword arm and decided I'm going to do the shield sword arm first, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to be moving that arm a few times. I don't want to hit it with super glue, and so I decided to hit it with now I'm using some plasticine to get it into a position to where I would be happy with it. And again, I'm just positioning the arm. I'm pretty sure you guys have done this yourself when you're doing like a standalone piece, like a champion or a chapter bearer, or you know, just there's the fuller glue that I use, the fuller expert. It's a good glue. It's not a hot glue, but it is a weld glue. It doesn't generate heat, but it will melt Tamiya plastic and whatnot, because Tamiya uses a weird type of plastic, but it is a very viscous glue. It's very watery, and so again, because it melts the plastic, it'll also melt the paint. So whatever you do, do not, I repeat, do not get the glue on a part of the model that you don't want melted, or you don't want to lose the paint. So here I am just holding the shoulder piece in place. It's not a fast acting glue. It does take a while to do its thing, and the average cure time for Fuller Expert is anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. So and again, I couldn't get the camera to focus like crazy. It was really upsetting me. So here I am trying to get, there we go, I was trying to get the camera to focus. I do apologize about that, guys. And so that's the rough position of where I wanted the shield arm to be. You can still see the body detail. At the same time, you can also see the shield arm detail. And so there, I was actually quite happy of where I'd gotten it position wise. And like I said, it was starting, the glue hadn't, as you can see, the glue's nowhere near dry. I mean, it's still wet. You can still move the arm to wherever the heck you want it. So if you're going to do this on a GW miniature, like on the torso, on the legs, it's perfect for that, because you can move the torso just enough to where you want it, where you haven't broken the torso, or you're going to break the legs. But once it's dry, it's as dry as super glue. You'll literally destroy that torso before you get that arm off of it. Again, now this is where I'm looking at the sword arm. The glaze on the sword's dry now. Again, I'm debating whether or not where I want to put the sword. And so again, I'm just, do I want the sword up? Do I want the sword down? If I put the sword down, it hits the power pack. God dang it! And then the shield arm started to move on me, because I realised, crap, I used Fuller glue. And again, I don't know what it is about Fuller's glue, but for some reason Fuller's glue just doesn't like GW plastic that easy. And as you can see, the shoulder's completely moved out of position yet. I haven't spotted that yet, but I will. And so I decided, you know what, I'll put the sword at an upward angle there. I found the angle I wanted, but because that sword arm is extruded from the body, I knew that Fuller's glue wasn't going to work, so I immediately busted out my extra bond super glue. And again, I always put the cap back on my glue immediately, because I don't want my glue to dry out. And this is one of my pet peeves. I do not like loaning out my glue to anyone when I'm at like a hobby meeting or whatever, and someone says, "Oh, this miniature broke, can I borrow your super glue?" I'm like, no, it leave a film. You know, literally, I turn into that maid. And then now I get the shoulder pad off, and I realised, oh crap, the arm's moved. And so I'm going to wait a few seconds for the super glue. There's my coffee. I'm going to wait for the super glue to shift a little bit, and then when I put the shoulder pad on, I realised, wait, the shoulder pad covers up the accident of the arm shifting. But no, not enough for me. And so again, I decide to bust out the super glue, because I'm not going to bother with the Fuller's glue, because it's just going to take forever. So I put a small dab inside the shoulder pad, and then put the shoulder pad on the arm. And yeah, it's so in essence, but before I did that, I realized, oh crap, I've missed a large part of the shoulder pad, which, as you can see, is the edge, complete side edge. And so here I am. I quickly decide to paint it again. I'm still working with the camera angles, guys. I do apologize, and I realize, oh crap, I'm not in frame. So I moved the miniature, as you can see, I moved the shoulder pad into frame. Now I'm left-handed, so I tend to keep all my paint pots. Yes, and it did, the plasticine did let go of the miniature at that point. I'm like, god dang it. So I need the plasticine back to give it a little bit of energy. I push the shoulder pad back in and start to paint it again. And so there, again, I start to cover the miniature again in the areas that I want, which actually, in the long run, was actually a smart move, because it gave me time to work that Fuller's glue to dry on the arm, so I didn't have to put any extra pressure on when I put the shoulder pad on and things like that. And so yeah, as you can see, guys, it when I'm doing centerpiece miniatures like this guy, I tend to take my time with them. I tend to do the whole blown apart thing, you know, paint the shoulder pad separate, paint the arms separate and whatnot, because those models have a lot of detail. They're meant to be looked at, they're meant to be picked up, they're meant for your opponent to look at it and go, dear god, that's beautifully painted, you know. Um, I don't see a lot of painters do this with every individual Imperial Guardsman, you know, but they'll do it for commissars, they'll do it for psychers, they'll do it for, you know, they'll do it for a whole bunch of other Ogrins. I've seen people do it with Ogrins, of all things, simply because they're miniatures that you want to pick up and look at. Orc war bosses, mech boys, stuff like that. You know, miniatures that do stand out. Heck, even tanks. Think about it. How many times have you grabbed like a Fell Blade or a Bane Blade and spent, you know, 20 plus hours just painting that one tank for Imperial Guard army, because you want that to be your centerpiece? And that's what I was focusing on here, which is why this miniature took me about 8 to 9 hours to get it to where it's at. And I still haven't finished it. I've got to hit it with a gloss, you know, a varnish, or not really a varnish, but you know, I've got to hit it with a matte clear coat. And for some reason my my webcam had frozen, and I thought my capture software had crashed, but it hadn't. And like I said in that clip, the reason why I didn't cut that audio part out is because it did cover a lot of things that people were asking me during the live stream. And here I am, a little dab of super glue on the shoulder, right there, simple dab. Again, less is more, guys, less is more. And then you just press it on and then let it do its thing. Yes, I didn't put the cap on immediately because it's a shoulder pad, and shoulder pads have a tendency of sliding off. But yeah, in all aspects, our miniature is somewhat done. And I was thinking about getting some water slide transfers done up for my stream logo, and actually put it on the shoulder pad of the Space Marine. And I might still do that. Yes, the miniature is technically still brick because it's a two-handed sword, but like I said in that little audio bite there, I will be adding in, I will be fixing the miniature. In fact, I believe I decided to fix it, I believe I decided to fix it right now, if memory serves. Did I? No, I don't think. No. This is where I bumped the camera accidentally, and yeah, I adjust it. And this is where I decided to do the wash on the face, if memory serves. Yes, the wash on the face. This is where I decided to do the wash on the face, but I just wanted to touch up a little bit on the sword, because the wash had actually thinned out the gold in certain areas that I wasn't happy with. So I just touched up the eagle in certain spots. You know, again, I am a bit of a perfectionist. I do apologize for that. I shouldn't have to, but I am. And so, like I said, I just go through and make the sword hilt just a little bit more brighter. And then I do believe I decided to fix the sword, or was it the wash? I can't. At this point, guys, I've had like 7 hours into this miniature and change, 9 hours into this miniature. Yeah, it's the wash. I do the wash on the face now. I do believe it is the face that I hit with the wash. And I just wanted to bring out the eyes. You know, the eyes, and there's a cross pattern on the faceplate. I call this helmet the Optimus Prime because it's a very Transformers-y looking helmet. It looks like the Optimus Prime from the 80s. You know, Optimus Prime. You know, and I really wasn't a fan of that helmet. It's just I wasn't going to be bothered to try and take a pair of snips to get that helmet off and replace it with a Womble Marine. If you guys don't know, I like the beaked Space Marine helmet. In England, we call them the Womble Marine helmet. It's a running joke of the whole Wombles TV show. And so all I'm doing now is just smoothing out the transition in the wash between the top of the head and the sides of the face. And what that will do is give it an even tone. It also stops some of the wash from pooling up into the eyeballs, where I don't want it. I want it in there, but I don't want it too harsh, if that makes sense. I don't want it in there to be to the point where it will make it look like he has a black eye. And you can see the cross that I'm talking about. So I'm just pushing the wash around a little bit more to try and get more pigment into the areas that I want it. And unfortunately the camera was in the way and I had to move the miniature off camera. I do apologize for that, guys. Just so that I could hit the miniature just where I wanted it, especially with the highlights of the face. And so what I wanted to do at this point was thin the wash out a bit. So bust out my mixing palette, drop of water. I use distilled water. You can use regular tap water, and again I just use distilled water because regular tap water still has impurities in it that can cause the paints to react badly, and I don't want that for this one. And again I wanted to, there we go, that's what I wanted to do. And then push it. You see, I wanted to push the wash. See there, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to push the wash into certain points of what I wanted, and I just wanted to blend it out a little bit with the chest piece, so that there, that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't want it to pull up in that eye that harsh, and so that's all I'm doing is I'm just, you know, pushing and pulling the wash where I want it. I decided to, you know, put a little bit of extra details on the backpack again, because it does stand out on the miniature, because I mean that's one of the higher points on a Space Marine is his backpack. And so here I am, I'm just hitting certain areas that I just want a little bit more highlight on, a little bit more ooh factor miniature wise. And so I'm hitting areas like underneath the knees and blending it into the feet, because when people do undershadows on the underside of a knee, they forget that it does have to blend properly, otherwise it just looks like the Space Marines, you know, scuffed his knees like a 5-year-old child, you know. He running down the street, mummy, 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 and falls over and gets a scab on his kneecap, you know. And so what I did there, again, accidentally bumped the camera, didn't mean to, is I'm just adding a little bit more variety in the color to break it up just a little bit more. And then I finally hit the back of the knees where you got your vents to help the knees turn, and I've hit the skull on the back of the power pack. Again, I'm just covering the area, finally giving it one last wash highlight. Hit the elbows again, get a little bit of color in there. Hit the wrists, the elbows, the shoulder pads. Again, I'm just blending in the colors, just blending it to make it a more uniformed color, so that when I go to do the edge highlights, those edge highlights just magically pop. And so and there we go, one last cover on the sword, and sorry about that, guys. And so yeah, and then I finally say, you know what, let's finish off the rest of the sword. And there, again, I'm just touching up certain areas, and that shot right there at time frame 1:25:22, you can see the power sword color shift. That's what I was going for, but I wanted to try it with a metallic sheen, and it just did not come across properly, and I do not know why. And so there we see the tones are evening out, especially on that shin, on the left shin. They're starting to even out on the elbow power pack, and it's just coming along nicely. I do like to stop when I'm painting certain miniatures like champions and things like that, and actually take a look and realize, oh wait, again it's pulling up in the eyes a little bit. Let's just drain it out the eyes just a wee bit. And because that's the thing, I normally don't like to paint Space Marine eyes. I normally don't. They're finicky and they never look right, especially if they're not wearing a helmet. They either look like they've got a lazy eye, or they're cross-eyed, or whatnot. And so I don't tend to paint Space Marines eyes, even more so when they're helmeted, simply because it's just, again, some guys are good at painting the eyes. I'm just not, guys. I just don't bother. It has nothing to do with that I don't want to challenge myself. I do. It's just, when I do decide to paint helmets, I will probably grab a whole bunch of heads, put them on some paper clips, and do them all in one go. You know, and then work on where I want and practice doing the eyes. But for now, again, I zoomed in a little bit now and wanted to work on getting the miniature in frame. And so we're getting near the end here, guys. We're like an hour and 30 minutes and change just in this recording alone. Like I said, I'd put a crazy amount of hours in sitting there painting and painting and painting and painting, and I mean, I hadn't even stopped to eat. You know, all I'm doing is just, I mean, can you sit in the same spot for 7 to 9 hours? Now, this is the highlighting process. I used the straight lavender mix, and I used linden white. And what I did was I did a 50-50 blend. As you can see, it's a typical artist 50-50 blend. I grabbed a blending brush and I just blended the white in, as you can see. If I want it darker, I'll add some more purple. If I want it lighter, I'll add some more white. And so yeah, that's all I did. And I really wanted an ultra white highlight, and so that's what I did. It's just a straight lavender blend, straight linden white blend, and grabbed one of my liner brushes. Now I tried to use just the sides of the brush, and again, I was having some focus issues. I do apologize, guys. Hopefully in the next paint tutorial video I'll have these issues fixed. But you can see what I'm doing. I'm just doing some edge highlighting, and I hadn't noticed that there was an issue with my focus. So if you want to skip ahead, I think it's like the 135-ish part. And again, I'm just touching up the feet, doing the edge highlights in the areas that I feel that the light would hit the miniature naturally on the tabletop. And so, you know, typical feet on the top of the knees. Yeah, my camera was having a hard time focusing here, guys. Like I said, I'm going to be working on my recording and whatnot, and but you can just see all that what I'm doing is I'm just edge highlighting. And the blend that I used, it was a straight lavender blend with some linden white, and again I'm hitting up the back of the foot, the back of the shin guard. I wanted to feather it in a little bit to make it look like there's more light behind him than there is in front, as a contrast sort of thing. And like I said, I'm just hitting up the corners of the edges here. I'll have some still photos for you guys to look at here soon at the end of the video. Again, the photos are going to take me a couple of days to sort out, because I've got to get my light box and my photo sheet. I actually have a black sheet that all I use it for is for photos, for taking photos of miniatures in an equal tone. There I realized, oh crap, I was out of focus, and so I managed to bring the miniature back into focus for you guys. But all you can see what I'm doing is just straight up just edge highlighting. That's it, using the sides of the brush, not the tip, just the sides, and just, you know, right there on the sword. You know, less is more, guys. Less is more. You don't want to overdo your edge highlighting. I know some guys who will edge highlight every edge, and it looks like the miniature will cut you without even touching it. You know, the edges are that crisp, you know, and eventually they just lose their ability to be edge highlights. And of course I wanted to get the top of the power pack, because, you know, again, that's where the majority of the light source is going to be, is on the power pack. Now here I decided to feather blend a little bit on the heat vent things, whatever you want to call those little round bulbous things on the back. I decided to feather blend those in, and yeah, this was a fun miniature to paint. It was just a fun time. I enjoyed it. I've missed painting miniatures. I really have. I just haven't had the time to get around to painting, guys. Now I have. It's getting near summertime here in Utah, which means the weather is starting to get a little bit nicer for me. Plus I've got some friends living with me now, and so I share my office with them. That's what you've been hearing in the background, is their cell phones and them typing away and whatnot. Again, no, they're not to blame. It's probably my horrible microphone instead, but you get a rough idea of what I've been doing. Again, I'm trying to fix this focus and this zoom. I'm using the Logitech C920 webcam, and yes, I'm using a webcam, not my camcorder or anything. And so there we go. Gonna hit up some edges here real quick. Again, I less is more, guys. Less is more. And a little bit on the elbow, a little bit there, and I wanted to cover a little bit on the knuckles, and then, wouldn't you know it, the miniature come off the plasticine again. But yeah, this is near the end step. It's just the highlighting section, where all I'm doing, guys, is just looking at areas, and naturally, as you can see, where the light is hitting the miniature. And I'm like, okay, so we'll get a little bit of blend here, a little bit of blend here, a little bit of blend here. The typical thing that most people should realize is just hold the miniature at a 45-degree angle, and any harsh edge you see there, just give it a highlight. That's it. Highlighting is easy. It really is. But like I said, if you see there you go for it. And like I said, guys, I'll add some photos at the end for you to view. So if you want to, you can stop the video, you know, during the photo section and just see the miniature itself and the end result. Again, this is where I decide to wet blend in the edge, because it's round. There's really no highlight edge per se, so I just do a wet blend or a blend in period with the color. And yeah, I wanted to say jobs are good, you know, at this point, but I realized, oh wait, the sword still broke. So there we go. Now you can see the highlights. And I wanted to literally say jobs are good, but you know, the perfectionist in me is like, no, wait, we can just get this little section here and this little section there and whatnot, and I'm like, but I'm done, you know. But again, that little perfectionist in me is like, no, you're never done. And we've all been there, guys. How many times have we looked at a miniature and thought it's done, only to go back to it a couple of days later and it's like, no, we're not done. We're never done. We'll never be done. Now, I wasn't worried about the mess up on that eye highlight right there, simply because I knew I was going to end up painting the eyes anyway. At this point during my live stream, one of my followers convinced me to paint the eyes red, and I said I'll do it after the highlight stage. So you're going to see in the photos he's going to have red eyes, but I didn't get to record it. Like I said, after I fixed the hilt, that was it. I wanted to say jobs are good and just call it done. But he convinced me to paint the eyes just before I ended the stream, and so that's what I did. I ended up painting the eyes, and but I didn't record it. Now there's about 5 minutes left of the footage here. I might cut it down a little bit, but this is it. I'm just edge highlighting now, guys, and yeah, it's, you know, you can do it. It's just, I know a lot of people don't want to spend the time to do it. I say take a little pride in your work. You know, you can do it, guys. You can do it. Now here, again, I overload the highlight simply because I'm going to go back with a wet brush and blend it in, which is what I did do, and you're going to see that in the photos. Again, I'm just touching up the foot a little bit because I just wasn't happy with how that highlight went. But yeah, a lot of people wanted to know more about my painting because they've seen some of my miniatures when I live stream Dawn of War, things like that, and I'll talk about, you know, my 40k lore knowledge and whatnot. And some of my viewers are like, you play 40k? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, have you ever played the tabletop? And I'm like, yeah, I used to work for Games Workshop. So yeah, I think I've played the tabletop. And but like I said, guys, there you go. You're starting to see how it turned out. And like I said, it's an overall fun miniature. If you have any more comments or questions, please just leave them in the comment section down below. There you go. I'll wipe off the rest of the highlight ink, and I'm going to hit it with a clear coat today. It's a nice day, actually. It's a little bit breezy, so I've got to worry about debris getting on the clear coat. But yeah, near the end, you're going to see me grab the. There you go. This is where I fixed the handle of the sword, and bust out the whooper glue. In this case, the crazy glue. And right here, you can see the hard edged highlights that I did on the wrist, on the knuckles. And yeah, you can do it, guys. You can do it. As you can see, I put a little bit too much super glue on there, so I just drained a little bit off on my thumbnail, and I just held it in place for a couple of seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, I believe. Yeah, there we go. And that was it. And I just waited for it to completely cure, which is done in like 10 minutes. I just had to adjust it a little bit. And yeah, the moment it was rigid enough to the point where it almost popped off the miniature off the stand of my little plasticine base, like right there, I'm like, okay, she's done. She ain't moving anymore. Let's put some base on there and highlight it and start working on the skull. And that's what you see me do. There's my Reaper Minis black primer. I do prefer Reaper Minis primer paints, even though they've stopped making their primer paints. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do once their primer paints are all gone. But here I started to seriously be careful not to hit the wrist or the fingers or whatnot. So here I'm just pushing the paint. I'm not brushing it, I'm pushing it. There's a difference between brushing and pushing. If you don't know the difference, just practice and you'll see the difference between brushing and pushing. That's a brush where you see me move the tip of the brush. A push is where the tip of the brush is stationary but the paint still moves. That's a push. But as you can see, I hit the hilt up. I haven't painted the hilt yet. I was going to paint it in a brown and then hit it with a flesh wash to make it look like leather, but I think I'm going to leave it black as a color contour. But I'm not sure yet. I'm still not sure. But you'll see what I decide to do here in the photos. So the video's coming to an end here, and enjoy the photo slide, guys. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next painting tutorial. Until then, guys, take care, and I love you all.